Imagine an ancient time where the roots of our spiritual history were being formed. At the heart of this past stood the great patriarchs and matriarchs: Abraham and Sarah, Rebekah and Isaac, and of course, Jacob. These names, so well known, are not merely distant figures from an ancient narrative. They are the foundations of beliefs, traditions, and teachings that resonate to this day. One of the most sacred places connected to them is the Tomb of the Patriarchs, a revered site shrouded in mysteries and miracles. According to the scriptures, these great spiritual leaders who walked the path of faith and shaped the future of entire generations were buried there. However, there is a figure who always emerges curiously, walking in the shadows of these accounts: Esau, Jacob's twin brother. Today, we will unravel a surprising chapter of this story, one that connects the conflict between brothers to a profound lesson about the internal struggle between mind and body, between intentions and actions. Now imagine the end of Jacob's journey, the patriarch who lived a life marked by struggles, challenges, and reunions. The moment comes when he feels that his life is nearing its end. But before departing from this world, Jacob makes a very special request to his most beloved son, Joseph. Joseph, who at that time was not just one of Jacob's sons, but also the viceroy of Egypt, held immense power in his hands. Jacob calls him, and with a heart full of longing and memories of his ancestors, makes Joseph swear a promise. "When I die, bury me in the tomb of the patriarchs, alongside my father Isaac and my grandfather Abraham. Do not allow me to be buried in a foreign land." Joseph, respectful and devoted to his father's wish, swears to fulfill this mission. And then, after Jacob's passing, a great procession is organized. It was not just any procession, it was the royal entourage of Egypt, led by Joseph and his brothers. They embark on a sacred journey to bring Jacob back to the Promised Land, where he would rest alongside his forefathers. But what seemed to be a solemn and peaceful journey was about to be interrupted by an unexpected conflict. The procession continues on its way. Joseph, his brothers, and a large group of Egyptians, all in mourning, carry Jacob's body to the tomb of the patriarchs, fulfilling the patriarch's final wish. The moment is solemn, filled with respect and reverence. Everything seems to be going as planned until suddenly an obstacle appears ahead. And who shows up to interrupt this sacred journey? Esau. Yes, Esau, Jacob's twin brother, the one with whom he had a history of conflict and reconciliation. Esau appears not as a grieving brother, but as someone determined to claim a right he believed was his by birth. "My brother Jacob will not be buried in the tomb of the patriarchs," Esau declares with authority. Jacob's brothers are stunned. Esau, full of conviction, continues, "I am Isaac's firstborn son. This place belongs to me. It is my birthright." The moment becomes tense. The once silent and respectful procession is now forced to stop in the face of this unexpected confrontation. Esau demands his rightful place, while Jacob's sons begin to prepare their arguments. The scene, which was meant to be one of farewell and reverence, now transforms into a battleground of family dispute, with the fate of Jacob's body at stake. What seemed like a simple burial would now become a battle of words and rights between brothers, one final conflict between Jacob and Esau. The tension rises. On one side, Esau, steadfast in his belief that as the firstborn, he has the right to the tomb of the patriarchs. On the other side, Jacob's sons, refusing to accept this demand, remind Esau of something that changed everything many years ago. With firmness, they say, "Esau, you no longer have that right. You sold your birthright to our father Jacob. Don't you remember? It was for a bowl of lentils." Esau, unfazed, refuses to back down. He questions them. "Prove it. Where is the document that shows this sale?" The question hangs in the air. There is indeed a document. The problem is, it's far away in Egypt, not here where the argument is unfolding in front of the tomb of the patriarchs. The procession comes to a halt and time seems to stretch. How could they resolve this situation without the proof in hand? Esau refuses to yield. "Without the document, you will not be able to bury Jacob here." Silence falls over the group. What seemed like a simple solution, reminding Esau of the sale of the birthright, now becomes complicated by this unexpected demand. Jacob's sons face a dilemma. If they return to Egypt to retrieve the document, they will lose time and extend the mourning period. Without it, Esau won't allow the burial. The deadlock is set. Esau, resolute, will not move. The spiritual legacy of the patriarchs is at stake, and Jacob's fate hangs in the balance. The situation grows increasingly tense, and patience is wearing thin. Jacob's sons feel cornered. Esau remains stubborn, demanding the document, while Jacob's body, their father, still needs to be buried. But at this moment of uncertainty, an unexpected figure steps in. Rim, Jacob's grandson and Dan's son, observes the conflict. He is young and deaf, and until now hadn't fully understood what was happening. He sees the commotion and asks, "Why aren't we burying Grandpa? What's stopping us?" His cousins point to Esau and explain, "It's him. He's stopping us from burying Grandpa in the tomb of the patriarchs." Hearing this, Rim feels a growing fury inside him. He looks at Esau, the one daring to block Jacob, the patriarch of the family, from resting. In an impulsive act, driven by his indignation and desire to honor his grandfather, Rim makes a drastic decision. Without a second thought, he draws his sword and, in a swift and unexpected move, beheads Esau. The shock is immediate. Esau's head rolls across the ground and something miraculous happens. The head doesn't stop until it reaches the entrance of the tomb of the patriarchs. Esau's body, however, falls to the ground outside the tomb. In that moment, everyone looks at each other, stunned. The way is clear. What seemed like an impossible conflict is now dramatically resolved. The tomb of the patriarchs is free for Jacob's burial. Yet Esau's head, separated from his body, remains at the entrance of the tomb, as if something deeper is being revealed. Now, something surprising happens before everyone's eyes. Esau's head, separated from his body, rests at the door of the tomb of the patriarchs. What seemed to be merely a tragic and violent ending reveals itself as a profound symbol. Esau's body, the part that yielded to desires, temptations, and mistakes, remained outside. But his head, the part that housed his conscience, his intentions, the part that knew what was right, this found rest in the sacred tomb. This separation is no coincidence. According to tradition, Esau was a man who, in his mind, knew what was right. He respected his father Isaac and had a clear understanding of the truth, but his body, driven by desires and impulses, always led him down crooked paths. He committed sins, engaged in violence, adultery, and materialism. His mind was pure, but his actions were corrupt. And now, in this final moment, divine justice is revealed in a subtle yet powerful way. The head, the part of Esau that contained the purity of his intentions, is honored with rest in the tomb of the patriarchs. The body, symbolizing acts of disobedience and sin, remains outside, rejected. It's as if Esau's fate tells us a truth about ourselves. Often we know what is right, we have good intentions, but our bodies, our actions, lead us astray. This scene, so symbolic, serves as a reminder that mind and body must be in harmony, and when they are not, the consequences can be eternal. Now, take a moment to think. How many times in our own lives do we find ourselves in Esau's dilemma? How often do we know exactly what is right, what God expects of us, what our conscience tells us, but in the end, our actions follow a different path? This story isn't just about Esau. It is a reflection of the human condition. Just like Esau, we all face this internal struggle between what our minds recognize as truth and the desires of the body that pull us away from it. We know what is right, what is moral, what is just, but how often do we allow ourselves to be led astray by the temptations of the material world, falling into mistakes and sins? Esau's head, with its purity of thought, symbolizes the correct intention, the mind that knows what is right. But the body, with its wrong actions, reminds us of human weakness, of how easily we stray from the path we should follow. Thus, Esau's story echoes in all of us. Perhaps you have experienced moments when you knew exactly what to do, what to avoid, and yet still made the wrong decision. The struggle between spirit and flesh, between intention and action, is a battle we fight every day. In this way, Esau becomes a mirror for our own lives. His head rests in the tomb of the patriarchs, while his body remains outside, a living metaphor for the division that so often exists within us, the mind seeking purity, and the body dragged down by human failings. And here we come to the conclusion of this powerful story, which carries a profound spiritual lesson. Esau shows us that intentions, no matter how pure, are not enough if our actions are not aligned with them. Esau's head, full of good intentions, was honored, but the body, which gave in to sin and desire, was rejected. And what does this mean for us? It means that living with good intentions is not enough. Knowing what is right, understanding the truth, is only half the journey. The other half is acting according to that truth, doing what is right, even when it's difficult, even when temptations pull us in the wrong direction. This story reminds us that we cannot justify mistakes with good intentions. Intentions are important, yes, but without the right actions, they will not lead us to the destination we desire. Esau's head rests in the tomb of the patriarchs, but his body remains outside. A reminder that intentions alone are not enough to guarantee our righteousness. Therefore, this lesson extends beyond the story of Esau and Jacob. It reflects in every decision we make, in every moment when we know what is right but are tempted to act otherwise. May we learn from this story and strive to align our intentions with our actions so that mind and body work together in harmony, and thus we may walk the correct path, the one that brings us closer to God and His truth. And so, the head of Esau, which lives within each of us, finds its true rest, not just in thought, but in the daily practice of doing what is right.